YouTube, welcome back to the first ever episode of Crit or Miss. My name is Katie Fear and this is...
Sky Wyvern. Hello.
Hello, and today we are going to be reading, well, I say we, Sky is going to be reading some stories off of r/horror stories because I'm too dyslexic to read. We're going to give our feedback, we're going to react to them, and yeah, do you want to take it away, Sky, with the first story?
Absolutely. This is a story shared by Echo Bravo Papa a few days ago, and it's titled GM Banned My Character Mid-Encounter.
Mid-encounter, okay.
Mid-encounter. So,
right.
They write, this happened a few years ago and caused our D&D group to, at the time, to disband. We had a group of 5 or 6 players, and the 3 people involved in this were the GM, and they add a note, my now ex-wife.
Oh, that's awkward. Okay, cool.
OP's GM was their ex. Well, they were married at the time, but now
yeah. Sorry, OP.
Yeah. The party rogue and themselves. Our game was set in the later stages of D&D 4th edition, and they would rotate who the GM was at the end of each campaign.
Oh, fun.
So everyone got a turn to play. Yeah, I think that's always fun to rotate GM.
Absolutely.
I like that. We were using the old character builder on the D&D website, and so OP, they built a character. It was a pixie werebear. So...
Oh, that's so cool.
It is. It's a very interesting character concept. So they had a little pixie, and it would transform into a bear, but the bear would be a small size.
Okay, so miniature bear. Okay.
Yes. So whenever they transformed, it would be a small bear cub, and the GM allowed it. And everyone else at the table thought it was a fun idea to transform into a kind of a pointless type of bear.
I mean, yes, it's for story purposes.
Yes. Well, you'll see what happens next.
Oh, God, okay.
During one of our trips into the town, the rogue and I got to talking about how we could make use of the transformation. And through a series of lucky dice rolls, they managed to convince the local store owner to purchase a very friendly and obedient bear cub, which you can imagine was my character.
Okay.
Then when the shopkeeper was asleep, I would unlock the door to the shop, and then the rogue would sneak in, loot the place. The GM would choose what was found and taken, and then we confirmed with the GM that the series of actions was okay. And while she was a bit annoyed that she thought we'd broken the system, she allowed it. We attempted to pull off this trick in several more towns we went to. Some succeeded, some didn't. At every turn, we confirmed with the GM that we were allowed to do this. And every turn, we were told it was okay if the dice rolls were in our favor.
Which is fair.
That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, which is fair.
What do you think of this heist concept? I think it's kind of a really
I think it's genius. Yeah, I think it's so funny.
Yes.
Like, maybe the GM's a bit annoyed because, like, maybe there's, like, special magic items or something like that they didn't want them to find, but... I mean, you could just be like, no, you don't find anything, or, you know, you find whatever, but nothing that's game breaking, I suppose. Like, in one of our campaigns, we managed to con someone into selling something that was worth 10,000 gold for 10 gold because there was a smudge on the label. You know, we're like, oh no, that definitely says 10, you know, but it's down to the DM at the end of the day.
For real. Okay, this is where it all starts going bad, though.
Okay.
During the fateful encounter, we wandered into a large cave as the party had been tasked with finding some townsfolk who had gone missing. Inside, we found a large bear with several bear cubs. Some dead, some alive.
Aww.
The bear began to attack the party, doing some serious damage. I believe the DM was fudging rolls to make him hit harder.
Okay. Oh, that's a nat 20. How did that happen? Oh, there's another nat 20. 2 in a row.
Wow, these I'm on fire today. I managed to hide and transform into a bear and use a scroll of speak with animals to try and convince the bear not to kill the party. And we only wanted to find what happened to the villagers. So the GM said I had to roll a persuasion check with disadvantage because the bear was in a rage, and the DC was 16 to get it to stop attacking.
Okay.
And the open roll, they scored an 18 and 19 with disadvantage. So the GM was furious. She stood up, took my token off the board, and shouted at me that, quote, she had enough of my stupid effing character ruining her campaign, and that if I wanted to keep playing with the group, I had to make a more serious character that wouldn't keep ruining her game.
Ooh. That's a bit
Yeah.
much.
That is a bit much.
That's a bit
yes.
much, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of an explosive reaction. And there was a very awkward silence. To break
Yeah.
the tension, I said I can swap my character out
Mhm.
for a backup character. And it could be a standard half-elf ranger. But she said the only way I was going to play again with a new character would be at the start of next session. And if I kept interrupting her, I would be kicked out the house until after she finished her game session.
Oh my god. Okay.
Mind you, they're married.
Oh, of course.
OP and the GM are married.
I totally
the
forgot
GM
that
wife-
for a second.
Yes.
Get out of my house. This is my house as well. So cute.
So I just sat there in silence as she proceeded to do a TPK, a total party kill, on the remaining characters.
Oh my god.
Then she got angry at me again, saying it was my fault the party had been wiped and that we would need to start the whole campaign from scratch. That was where the session ended, and all the players left without really saying anything.
Oh, that's so awkward. Oh my god.
Yes. Okay. Time for resolution slash the ending.
Okay.
So the GM, remembering she was my wife at the time, then proceeded
Oh
to
yeah.
give me the silent. Right. This is my spouse. So she gave OP the silent treatment for quite
Okay.
a while, and one by one, all the other players put a message in the group chat saying they didn't want to play in the group anymore because of what had happened. And the GM tried to blame everyone in the group for not shutting down OP's character sooner, and was reminded that before we did anything, we always check with her if it was okay to do. But this didn't impress her, and she ended up blocking half the people in the group chat.
Oh my god.
So finally, there is a happy ending though, Katie,
Okay.
because
Thank
they
God.
didn't play. Yes. So they say I didn't play D&D again until after we split up, and I got invited to a group that, among its other members, had a couple of the players from this group. The new group has been playing for 3 years now, so at least a very happy ending.
Aww.
So
yeah.
that concludes the post.
That's
I think it's
nuts. Like,
yeah.
okay, so see if OP was doing something like seriously game breaking, as in, like, you know, been able to manipulate it so that it heavily swung in their favor, or maybe like interfered with massive storyline or plot, or but it's literally like we're breaking into, you know, stores and stealing a couple of things, and we're convincing a bear not to attack the party. Like, that just, to me, that seems like pretty minuscule small things and a pretty good way of using this weird, like, really not that useful ability, you know?
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
a pixie transforming into a little baby bear cub. It has this very niche uses, and it seems like OP was being creative with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the wife at the time had a GM versus player mentality where she felt like she kept losing against the spouse, you know, and like, you know, and if you say like, okay, roll disadvantage 16 DC, and they get an 18 with disadvantage, like, you can't stand up and get mad at that.
No. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe the GM kind of blew things a bit out of proportion, you know, especially to like have so much of a visceral reaction to, you know, something that I think is actually a pretty good use of, like we say, this useless, like, useful ability. I don't know.
Right.
I feel bad. I feel bad for OP, and I feel bad for the players as well, because that must have been really awkward. Like, you know,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
if it's, so the thing is, right, like, if two friends are having an argument and shouting at each other, and you're friends with them, you can kind of like, haha, you know, look at they two, you know. But if it's like a married couple screaming at each other and you're in their house, you're like, oh,
Yes.
I don't want to
Yes.
be here.
Yeah, and the game is at their house too. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's very uncomfortable. That's very uncomfortable.
But yeah, I'm glad OP can now play with new players, and they're having a good time, hopefully.
Yeah, and you know, they are split up. So
I
they're
mean,
no longer married.
Maybe
I
there
wish the
was
best of both of them.
there was more going on, you know. Obviously that they're not married now, so maybe there was, you know, more to the story that OP's, you know, not telling, which fair dues. But Aye.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if there's like miscommunication happening in a D&D game in front of like other people, who knows what was going on behind the scenes at home with just the couple there.
True.
You know?
Right, Sky, what do you think? Is this story a crit or a miss? I think it's a crit.
From whose perspective?
Okay, so I think this is a total crit for OP, because if OP was in my game and that was their character, I'd be like, on yourself, son. You do all the weird and wonderful werebear pixie stuff that you want, as long as you're not breaking the game. I think it's a total miss for the DM. I think they blew things out of proportion massively.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the pixie and bear, that's something I never heard before.
No.
And it was cool that the rogue was in on some of these heists as well, and it was like a little heist that they fell back on.
Yeah.
And it seems like they used it to be creative on these side plots and quests and missions, and yeah, the DM definitely missed there and got a little jealous, a little upset that their preconceived plans were changed up through the improvised chaos of the transformation.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, see, as a DM, you just have to plan for that. Like, you don't know what your players are gonna do, you know? Like, you can have all the schemes and plots and plans, and then your players turn around and tell you they want you to do something completely different. You're like, oh man, you know?
Yes. And actually, what you said, someone, if you don't mind me sharing, someone commented on this post a few days ago, Bamf1701. They said, the DM made the classic mistake, not realizing that no plot survives first contact with the PCs. If you can't deal with the PCs throwing you curveballs, then you do not belong behind the DM screen. Also, if she were having a problem with your character, she needed to have a talk with you about it before it got to the point of her blowing up, like an adult would. After all, if she never tells you how she feels, then you would never know that it was bothering her in the first place.
Yeah, communication is key, you know, between players and DMs. Absolutely. Like, you can have all the, you know, all the session zeros in the world, but stuff does happen mid-campaign sometimes. And sometimes you need to take a step back and just, you know, have a 5-minute conversation, and that's all it takes.
Yes.
And then it'll stop people throwing hissy fits and throwing people at the house.
Yes, and OP replied and said, yeah, it was a complete shock and surprise that she blew up like that in front of everybody, because it was just stewing and no one knew. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So really, if stuff bothers you, I would highly encourage people to put it out or debrief or during the session, hey guys, this is starting to, you know, let me start feeling that way.
Yeah, like I watch and listen to a lot of these TTRPG horror stories on YouTube, and in my mind I am screaming at the top of my lungs like, just talk to them, you know, like this. But I don't know whether it's, you know, some people are uncomfortable with it, some people might have anxieties and stuff like that. Me personally, I don't. Like, I have, you know, very straightforward, blunt conversations with people. But yeah, poor OP. But at least they're getting to play now.
Absolutely. Happy ending for this one.
Yes, that was a good one. I liked that one.
This one's pretty fucked up.
Oh god. Okay, what's it called? What's it called?
Okay, yeah, RPG Star Stories by Madiga7, titled "Some Guy Wanted to Grope Dead Bodies in a Public Game." So this is what OP is said. It's just ridiculous.
Okay.
This didn't happen to me, but I was at a game store playing Memoir with a buddy, where a TTRPG public game was happening at the table next to us.
Okay.
The DM seemed to be running a game that was introducing a bunch of people to TTRPGs. He had a decent-sized group, like 6 or 7 people, with a near even split on men and women. It sounded like he was running a Cthulhu-style type game set in the Scooby-Doo universe. And Velma just took a shotgun blast to the face and died.
Oh no, not Velma.
No, Velma, R.I.P. Okay, here's where the dipshit comes in, they write. The dipshit at the other end of the table asks if he can grope Velma's dead body. The DM, stunned by this, says, really? Her entire face is shotgun blasted away. The guy confirms that he wants to do it. The DM says, okay, well, you do that then. The guy on the end has an incredibly satisfied look on his face, and I look at the girl sitting next to him. I watch her face as I see in real time her internally decide that she's never playing an RPG ever again. That's the end of the story. Wow.
Get out. Leave.
I would say misses everywhere.
No. Some people do not deserve to step foot in stores like this. And this,
I agree.
like, oh man. What goes through people's head? What makes people think this is like even a 0.0.01% acceptable thing to do? Do people have no shame?
Yes.
Do people have no awareness?
Right? I know. At this point, I kind of wish some gaming stores had a background check for people before playing a game in the store.
I don't understand. I don't. Like,
Yeah.
even the DM been like, okay, so you do that? No. No.
Yeah.
You do not. As soon as someone says, I want to do blah, if it's something like that, you go, absolutely fucking not. There's the door. That is what you
Right.
do with these people, because he's been allowed to do that, which will then just make it okay for him to do it again. You shut
Correct.
that stuff down as soon
Yes.
as it happens. Like, again, maybe people are uncomfortable with confrontation. Maybe they don't like to, but no. There's stuff like that is.
and the fact too, it says that the guy that got away with it had a very satisfied look on his face. You can tell that he was trying to like be an edgelord and make people uncomfortable.
It's just
and they were
so-
allowed to do that, and the poor girl was just baffled and disgusted by it.
It's just so icky. It really is. Like, it's total loser behavior. It's just really icky. But also, like, it definitely needs to be called out, that kind of stuff. Regardless of how uncomfortable it is, you need to be like, mate, absolutely not. There's the door. Away you go. Let it hit you on the way out,
Yes, and someone actually commented and said GMs need to know how to say no.
Yeah.
Followed by, what the F is wrong with you? Get the hell from my table, you're done.
Exactly.
And I think that would solve a lot of problems, especially if that happened right away. Someone says, I would like to group the body. I would say, no, you are not going to do that in the game, and that's really uncomfortable, and I would not want to play with them again.
No.
But that's the tough part too. At these gaming stores, it's very good, accessible for people to play TTRPGs for the first time. But man, the people that you get in your group, if you got 7 or 6 strangers with you, it's really a flip of the coin.
Yep.
If they're gonna be like a good player or someone that's gonna try and stir the pot, traumatize other players, and just be a doofus the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I've only ever played at stores a handful of times. A handful of them have been with friends, and we've just not had a place to play, so the store's available. But there have been occasions where I've sat at a table that I don't know anyone at, or I've had people at my table as a DM that I don't know. And yeah, there's been uncomfortable situations, but again, I am quite, like, nip it in the bud kind of thing. So that poor girl though, sitting at that table, because like, if that's her first experience with D&D, she's just gonna be like, oh, is this what it's like? I don't want to play anymore,
Yeah.
It would put me off. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And like doing that in a public space and people like accepting it and just moving on with it right there.
Yeah.
That's gonna traumatize her, and she won't play anything again.
So actually, I think everyone in this story is a miss.
Everyone's a mess.
Everyone's
Absolutely.
a miss. DM, you're
Fail.
a miss for letting them do it and then not shutting that down. This guy's the biggest miss of all time. And the poor lassie, honestly. Oh god.
Poor lassie.
That's so sad.
Takeaways though, I would say,
Yeah.
if something weird or uncomfortable is said by a player, just shut it down.
Exactly. And if your DM's not willing to shut it down, go and get someone from the store.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, a store is a business. They want people to come back. That girl will probably never be back, and she'll probably go and tell other people not to go there. So they're losing business. So
Word of mouth.
word of
Powerful
mouth.
thing.
That's it.
All right, that concludes the first episode of Critter Miss with Sky Wyvern and
Katie Fear.
yes. What do you guys think about these stories? Comment below, let us know. Like and share. And I look forward to doing some more of these in the future with you, Katie.
Yeah, this is so much fun. I want to do it again.
Yes, absolutely. All right. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.